temperatures? Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Molly Kampir. Let's get started. Our top focus tonight on Gravitas is on the Russia-Ukraine war. As Ukraine faces relentless Russian missile and drone attacks, we are taking a closer look at what's happening on the battlefield and what Russia's moves tell us. Is the Russian President Vladimir Putin openly defying US President Donald Trump's ultimatum? That's coming up in just a bit, and we're also focusing on Donald Trump's strategy. The big question is it from America first to Trump first? We tell you why this question is being asked. We're also getting you the latest on the Gaza situation as the alarming images of starvation continue to haunt the world. All this and more coming up. From capital Kyiv to Kharkiv to Donetsk, on the front lines, Ukraine is under a barrage of relentless Russian missile and drone attacks, reducing buildings to rubble and leaving a trail of deaths and utter destruction. Just to put it simply, Moscow, or more specifically, the Russian president, not just ignoring US President Donald Trump's ultimatum, it seems, but openly defying it. At the start of this week, Donald Trump, remember, set a firm deadline of August 8 for Moscow to take meaningful steps towards ending the war. But Russia's response, or more specifically Putin's, has not been one of compliance. Rather, on the contrary, Russia has increased the scale and intensity of its fierce aerial attacks, and there is data backing this claim. According to the Ukrainian president, the month of July alone has witnessed over 5,100 glide bombs, nearly 3,800 Shahed drones, and more than 250 missiles launched by the Russian forces, with 128 of those being ballistic missiles. And the past week has been particularly deadly, with Russian attacks reportedly killing over 50 people and injuring dozens more. In a brutal overnight assault on the Ukrainian capital, Russia launched at least 300 drones and 8 missiles. But among the deadliest attacks was a strike using a Russian glide bomb that destroyed part of a residential building in Ukraine's Kramatorsk. At least one person has died, 11 others injured, many are feared trapped beneath the rubble. While on the ground, the fight has intensified in eastern Ukraine. Russian troops claim they have taken full control of Chasiv Yar, a key town in the Donetsk region. Chasiv Yar, remember, has long served as a vital logistics and command hub for the Ukrainian forces in Donetsk. And analysts now are warning that the town's fall would give the Russian forces better access to other strategic locations across the Donetsk region. And earlier today, Putin said Russian forces are advancing along the entire front line, whether it is in Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia or Kherson. Ukraine's military already stretched thin and its air defenses under tremendous pressure as Russia continues deploying increasingly sophisticated drones and missiles. And in one of the bloodiest strikes in recent weeks, at least 31 people were killed, 159 others injured during a missile and drone assault on Kyiv on Thursday. According to Ukraine's Air Force, the attack included the use of the jet-powered Shahed drone, a faster and more elusive version of Iran's well-known propeller-driven drones. Ukrainian officials are saying these drones are especially difficult to track and intercept due to their higher speeds and flight altitudes. Each interception attempt requires costly surface-to-air missiles, some of which reportedly run into millions of dollars per launch. And their presence significantly complicates Ukraine's defense strategy. According to reports, the drones are likely a modified version of the Iranian Shahed 238, which can travel nearly 2,000 kilometers, reach altitudes of 10 kilometers, and carry 50-kilogram warheads. Their speed, reportedly, up to 600 kilometers per hour, makes them particularly challenging for Ukraine's current systems to intercept. And as Russia continues to ramp up drone production and tactical innovations, Ukraine's defensive options are narrowing, even as Russia's arsenal continues to get deadlier. Talking alongside the president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, Vladimir Putin earlier today said that Russian and Belarusian military experts, in fact, have been preparing positions for Oreshnik missile to be deployed in Belarus by the end of the year. Listen to this.
Russian and Belarus military experts have chosen location of the future positions. The work is now underway to prepare those positions. Most likely, we will be through with this matter by the end of the year.
The Trump administration's call for a ceasefire is meeting a hard wall of resistance in Moscow, it seems. Trump, remember, announced that he is sending the special envoy, Steve Witkoff, to Russia. However, with Moscow showing no signs of restraint, that mission faces steep odds. And Donald Trump appears to be growing more frustrated by the day.
I think it's disgusting what they're doing. I think it's disgusting. This is Biden's war. It's not my war. But I said if I get in, I'll try and get the thing stopped. But I think what Russia's doing is very sad.
In the meantime, Putin has said that he wants a lasting and stable peace in Ukraine, reiterating that Moscow's conditions for peace remained unchanged.
Deals for the country. You know, we're taking in literally trillions of dollars for the country. This is making our country very rich and respected again.
US President Donald Trump has just redrawn the carefully crafted world order with his punitive tariff war against just about every other nation, with incomprehensible demands, it would seem. But this time, his weapon of choice, brutal tariffs, are hurting friend and foe alike, but callously are going to crush some of the world's poorest and war-torn nations the most. The world's poorest nations, war-torn countries, in fact, have been slapped with punitive tariffs. And the message from Trump is clear. He is not putting America first, he is putting himself first. Just think of it like this. Trump is basically throwing a big global trade party, but not everyone is invited. Some are forced to pay at the door. And the smaller, poorer guests, well, they are being charged the highest price. Just have a look at this map for now. It shows who has been hit and where. While Mexico gets a 90-day pass, Thailand gets a pat on the back, a 19% levy. But Syria, Myanmar, Iraq, even Sri Lanka, they have been slapped with some of the highest rates imaginable. That's on your screen. No explanation here, no room to negotiate. Just a velvet rope barring them from entering the party. And these are not necessarily global economic heavyweights, by the way. They are vulnerable countries. Many still reeling from war, from economic collapse, and have major humanitarian crises. To hit them with tariffs this high is not just aggressive, it's punitive. Because let's just take a moment here to just look at the numbers. At least in three countries at least, these new tariffs cut far deeper than just the trade margins. Syria, for that matter, has been slapped with 41% tariff. And this is a country that has seen 13 years of war. A war that has left the cities in ruins, hospitals bombed, an economy that barely functions. Millions rely on humanitarian aid. And now their exports will be taxed 41%, thanks to Trump. It's essentially a country that is on its knees and is being asked to pay for a seat it did not even ask for, in a way, at Trump's table. Similarly, in Libya, rival governments and militias are still fighting for control. Oil revenues are one of the few means of survival. A 30% tariff on exports just does not hurt businesses. It actually risks tipping an already volatile country deeper into chaos. In Sri Lanka, a country still recovering from its worst economic meltdown in history, the 20% tariff is like a gut punch. Remember, this is a country that is trying to stand up on its feet again after debt default, political crisis, mass protests. And now it's being punished further without warning and without a deal. And we're not done yet. Lesotho, for example, the tiny landlocked African country, was hit with the nearly highest rate ever proposed for any US trade partner, 50%. And now it has received a modified tariff rate of 15%. But for what? It's not clear. Just economic whiplash, it would seem, handed down by executive order. And these countries did not provoke a trade war, but they will have to pay the price for one anyway. This is Trump's party, and the weakest still pay the highest cover charge. And this is where the story gets even more political. Trump's tariffs are not just about protecting Americans. They are Trump's weapon on diplomatic retribution. Brazil, for example, gets hit with a 40% tariff because it prosecuted former President Bolsonaro for inciting an insurrection. Canada, it faces a tariff of 35% for supporting the Palestinian statehood. And when Trump wants a win, he dials it back, just like he did with Mexico after a call with the president. Meanwhile, three countries, Cambodia, Pakistan, and Israel, have escaped economic pressure after showering praise on the US president. Cambodia, facing a brutal 49% US tariff, got the rate reduced to 19% after offering a Nobel Peace Prize nomination for Donald Trump. You might recall Pakistan and Israel did just the same. Israel faces 15% tariff, and Pakistan, the global exporter of terror, faces 19% tariff. Trump calls it liberation. He wants Americans to believe that this is some grand rebalancing of trade relationships. He claims that other countries have looted America for decades. Just 8 countries, including the UK, Japan, and Pakistan, have managed to cut deals. Dozens of others did not even get a chance. They just woke up one day to new tariffs. One might say it is Trump's country and his government. He is the host of this party. So in a way, he can call whoever he wants. But that's not how the world works, does it? And here's the problem in a way. The US can do this because the US dollar is the lifeblood of global trade. Remember, most international transactions run through the dollar. Most central banks of the world, in fact, hold the dollar. And if any other country explores any alternatives, like the BRICS, for example, discussing the possibility of a shared currency, Trump lashed out because if the world moves away from the dollar, the US loses its hegemony. So when Trump talks about winning trade wars, this is who actually loses. It's countries that are already dealing with inflation, with debt, with war, and now they face higher costs to export basic goods. And here's the thing, these countries had no part in the trade imbalances that Trump is actually talking about, but they will surely become the collateral damage in this battle. And at the end of the day, it will hit the pockets of American consumers. So yes, Trump's party is in full swing, but the price at the door keeps rising. It's not based on fairness or trade rules, it's based on Trump's personal politics. His grudges, it seems, and his belief that only the US gets to win. This is not America first, it's Trump first. And for the rest of the world that has not been able to cut a so-called deal, it's a party they never even signed up for in the first place, but will have to pay for. And the US dollar, by the way, is heading for its strongest weekly gain in nearly 3 years, driven by a mix of tariff shocks and policy divergence. President Trump's sweeping new tariffs on dozens of countries jolted markets, triggering sharp moves in currencies. The yen slid to its weakest since March after the Bank of Japan signaled no urgency in hiking rates. Japan's finance ministry has said it is alarmed by the slide. The Canadian dollar to its lowest since May after Canada faced a steeper than expected 35% tariff. Now, these moves basically reflect the growing strain on global currencies from Washington's aggressive trade strategy. The euro remains pinned near a 2-month low, weighed down by a controversial EU-US trade deal finalized last week. The markets view the impact as skewed in favor of Washington, with French and German leaders voicing criticism. Analysts are saying the deal acts as a fresh headwind for the euro, which touched its weakest level since June 10. In Asia, the Philippine peso slumped to a 6-month low, while Taiwan's dollar hit levels last seen in early June. The South Korean won also weakened, dragged down by its late-stage tariff deal. In India, the rupee briefly hit a record low of 87.74 against the dollar before powering the losses on likely central bank intervention. Despite Trump's fresh attack on the Fed chair, in fact, calling him a mistake, the US dollar held firm. The Federal Reserve left rates unchanged, citing somewhat elevated inflation and a solid labor market, brushing off political pressure. And all eyes now are turning to the upcoming US payroll data. Strategists suggest the US economy may be operating above potential, supporting higher bond yields and continued dollar strength. For now, markets are pricing in a combination of geopolitical risk, central bank divergence, and resilient US data, all reinforcing the dollar dominance. As starvation spreads in Gaza, Israel is being accused of turning humanitarian aid into a death trap, killing civilians who are simply trying to survive. At the very same time, far-right Israeli settlers are lining up at the border, calling for Gaza to be reoccupied. This is Gaza today, 662 days into the war, tents for homes, ashes where hospitals and schools once stood, and aid lines turning into mass graves. According to the UN, more than 1,000 Palestinians have been killed since May as they tried to reach food distribution centers. Most of the deaths occurred near facilities backed by the US and Israel, guarded by armed veterans and private contractors. At Khan Yunis's Nasser hospital, Palestinians gathered today again after a night of Israeli fire to mourn the dead.
We pulled the children out of the tent, and we found him and his wife martyred instantly, and the little girl also dead. This is the third one I've buried, and their father was martyred before. My son was a lawyer, he had nothing against him. My son was a lawyer, and he has nothing on him.
In Gaza, families are bidding goodbye to their children day after day as they are being killed in Israeli airstrikes. Israel claims that it's targeting Hamas, but rights groups are saying that the war is killing mostly civilians, many of them children. Make no mistake here, the suffering in Gaza is systemic in a way, imposed by the Israeli government. Already the United Nations calling Gaza the most dangerous place in the world to be a child. At least 90 children have died of hunger, most of whom died in the past few weeks. More than 90% of toddlers are not getting enough nutrition. Hospitals have been bombed, water, fuel, medicine have been cut off, yet humanitarian access remains severely restricted. The spiraling crisis prompting the main World Hunger Monitoring Body on Tuesday to assess that a worst-case scenario of famine is unfolding and that immediate action is needed to avoid widespread death.
From one place to another and from hospital to hospital, she stayed in the IMC for 8 months for treatment and she was improving. After the girl improved and when we went to Gaza City, to the north, bit by bit, her health condition worsened. She started having severe complications and her weight started decreasing. Her blood is currently 6.
As Israel starves Palestinians, the U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and the U.S. Ambassador to Israel traveled to Gaza on Friday, where they inspected the U.S. and Israel-backed aid distribution system, the GHF, that has been facing backlash. In fact, the visit took place as Witkoff works on a final plan to speed up the deliveries to Gaza. According to UN estimates, Israeli forces have killed more than 1,000 people seeking food since May, most near militarized distribution sites of GHF. But the GHF denies that there have been deadly incidents at its sites and says that the deadliest have been near other aid convoys. In fact, just miles away at the Gaza border, a different story is unfolding. Israeli right-wing activists are rallying to re-enter Gaza and to rebuild settlements. They call Israel's 2005 withdrawal from the Strip as a tragic mistake, one that they claim led directly to the Hamas attacks.
A Palestinian state? Your country is a Palestinian state. You will not make Israel a Palestinian state.
Israeli ministers are also now openly calling for Gaza to be annexed. The finance minister says the return of Jewish settlements is closer than ever. But that's not the complete story from Israel. There is another kind of pressure building inside Israel. Families of hostages held by Hamas protested outside Prime Minister Netanyahu's office, urging him to make a deal for their loved ones' return. Some are now demanding a ceasefire. Others are saying the war is only costing more innocent lives and achieving nothing. In Tel Aviv, young Israelis are refusing to serve.
I I'm refusing because I can't be a part of the system which rules in the occupied territories in the West Bank. I can't be a part of the war in Gaza, of the misery and suffer caused to so many people.
As politics and protests continue in Gaza, children remain trapped between bombs and hunger, and now settlers are marching at the border as the world watches on in horror. India has deployed 3 naval warships to the Philippines, marking a significant show of support for Manila as tensions with Beijing continue in the South China Sea. The Indian Navy vessels, INS Mysore, a guided missile destroyer, an anti-submarine warfare corvette, INS Shakti, a fleet tanker, are currently docked in Manila. They will participate in a joint patrol with the Philippine Navy from August 4 to 8, including in areas contested by China and the Philippines. Notably, this joint maritime drill coincides with the Philippine President's official visit to India, where he is scheduled to meet Prime Minister Modi, the President and other leaders, underscoring the strengthening defense ties between the two sides. Recently, the INS Mysore has been armed with the BrahMos supersonic cruise missile, which has a range of up to 800 kilometers, enhancing India's growing strategic capabilities. Analysts see this coordinated patrol as part of India's ongoing operational deployment across Southeast Asia, signaling a united front with Manila amid the rising South China Sea tensions. At the Manila port arrival ceremony, Rear Admiral Sushil Menon of the Indian Navy's Eastern Fleet thanked the Philippine government for its welcome and showcased the Navy's surveillance aircraft, which can distinguish the military from civilian ships, emphasizing their commitment to regional security and cooperation. In fact, during their drill, Indian and Philippine naval personnel will be taking part in joint professional exchanges aimed at strengthening interoperability and fostering closer ties between the two navies. And before we go any further, here's a quick look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. We are telling you all about Jakarta's puppet ban. What is it all about? In fact, it is threatening livelihoods. We get to the complete story. A special report coming up on Afghan women tour guides who are breaking barriers one trip at a time. All this and more coming up. Stay with us. US President Donald Trump's ballroom dream is set to become reality. In the latest addition to the US presidential complex, the White House has announced that construction of a new state ballroom will start in September. The ballroom is expected to be completed before the president's term ends in early 2029. It marks the latest change to what is known as the People's House since President Trump returned to office in January. Pledging that no government dollars will be used for the new ballroom, Trump said that he and other private donors will cover the full cost of construction, which is estimated at $200 million.
Yeah.
Private donations.
It's a private thing. Yeah, I'll do it, and we'll probably have some donors or whatever, but it's about $200 million. So we've been planning it for a long time. They've wanted a ballroom at the White House for more than 150 years, but there's never been a president that was good at ballrooms. I'm really good. In fact, I looked at one that we just built in Turnberry in Scotland, and it's incredible. We're good at building. I'm good at building things, and we'll get it built quickly and on time, and it'll be beautiful, top of the line.
The construction of the White House State Ballroom will also be the first structural change to the executive mansion since the addition of the Truman balcony several decades ago. President Trump has for months now promised to build a ballroom, saying the White House lacks adequate space to host large events. He also expressed his dislike for the idea of hosting heads of state and other dignitaries in the tents on the South Lawn. We're shifting focus for now. An age-old tradition in Jakarta in Indonesia is at risk. The city authorities are moving to ban the iconic ondel-ondel street performances, a sacred puppet art rooted in Indonesian culture. But for hundreds of street performers, this is not just about heritage, it's about survival. The puppet ban is putting their livelihoods at risk. Take a look.
I'm worried that the ban could lead to more street crimes because most of the buskers have no other jobs. We need money for food. Most of us have families we need to feed. Only a few are singles.
The ban and raids on ondel-ondel everywhere actually represent the lack of understanding by the Jakarta city administration about the history and tradition of ondel-ondel among Betawi people.
A rare sight is unfolding in the heart of Kabul. A group of foreign tourists is exploring the National Museum of Afghanistan, all of them women, and leading them, a young Afghan woman. Our next report telling you how in a country where women's freedoms are tightly controlled, Afghanistan's female guides are challenging stereotypes, one tour at a time.
Her journey started with a simple search. She was looking for ways to improve her English when she discovered an app that connected travelers with locals. Out of curiosity, she hosted a guest and showed them around her hometown in western Afghanistan.
And it was built again during the time of the Amanullah Khan, the king of Afghanistan.
What began as a language exercise turned into a calling. Her name is Somaya Moniri. She's 24, and she's one of the few female tour guides in a country where women's freedoms are extremely constrained. Somaya believes Afghanistan is more than war and repression. She wants the world to see its beauty, history, and resilience, and hopes. Every tour reshapes a few perceptions.
Whenever I myself saw that it's not whatever the people or the society says about Afghanistan or the media says about Afghanistan, all this negativity, it's not all that. Yeah, we can say there are both. Also the negativity and also the positivity, both of them exist. So, but the focus on positivity were less, and not a lot of people talked about it.
One traveler from Australia is finally visiting a country she dreamed about in the 1960s. She says the experience has been deeply rewarding, a chance to witness a culture she's long admired from afar.
Oh, I think it's wonderful. I've wanted to come here for so long, like 1966, when everybody else was coming and I was too busy having babies. So to finally get the chance to come to this country, which has got such an amazing history, I think is a real privilege.
Decades of conflict kept tourists away from Afghanistan. And when the Taliban returned to power in 2021, fears grew, thousands fled, but the violence has slowed. Attacks do still happen, mostly from Islamic State-linked groups, and Western nations continue to warn against all travel. But some adventurers are still coming. Tourism remains small, but it's growing. Travelers from China, Greece, the UK, and the Netherlands are now booking guided tours. The Taliban government is encouraging the trend.
I truly believe in ethical tourism. I mean, I work in countries like North Korea, and so I believe that you can divide, politics and people, and that is the main thing for me, is that a country is not a sum of its politics. It's a sum of so much more. It's a sum of its culture, its history, its food, and especially in Afghanistan, its people.
With global recognition still out of reach, with only Russia formally recognizing them, Taliban officials see tourism as a chance to boost the economy and soften their image. Visas are easier to get. Flights connect Kabul to major cities like Dubai and Istanbul. But lack of basic rights for women have sparked global outrage. Girls can't study beyond primary school. Women face strict dress codes and can't enter parks, restaurants, or salons, and only a handful of jobs remain open to them. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
He talks nice and then he bombs everybody.
Where did you learn to speak so beautifully? This thing was just really horrible.
There is an old saying, simple English is the best English. And it seems like US President Donald Trump has taken that to heart. Rather, he has practically engraved those words into his speaking style. And you don't need a thesaurus to decode this. In the simple world of Trump's dictionary, words like beautiful, nice, horrible are the holy trinity of adjectives that define his world. Listen to this for yourself.
Nice. We have such nice conversations. Where did you learn to speak so beautifully? This thing was just really horrible.
There you have it. Beautiful, nice, horrible. And this is not just offhand. Even when Trump talks about the Russia-Ukraine war, for example, Trump uses these words liberally.
Really surprised a lot of people. He talks nice and then he bombs everybody in the evening.
He talks, we have such nice conversations, such respectful and nice conversations, and then people die the following night in a...
For Trump, it seems anything good is beautiful. Anything bad, you guessed it right, horrible.
You had such good English, such beautiful. Where did you learn to speak so beautifully? Where were you educated? Where?
And when things get difficult, listen to this.
Lives have been saved. That could have been as bad as it was, and you could have lost double or triple. This thing was just really horrible.
So there you have it, the Trump dictionary in just 3 words or so. And who says world leaders are not relatable? Shifting focus for now, the Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has issued a dire warning. This time it's not about war, but about a scarce resource. He is warning that Tehran could soon run out of water. Pezeshkian has warned that dams supplying water to the capital could soon run dry unless water consumption was curbed. And according to Pezeshkian, water reserves may be depleted to a state of emptiness by October, when schools reopen and demand typically rises. Iranian news agency claiming that water reservoirs serving Tehran are at just 20% capacity, while nationally the average reservoir level stands at 44%. According to the Tehran Provincial Water Supply Company, levels in the reservoirs supplying the city have fallen to their lowest in a century. While no formal water rationing has actually been announced, electricity is being cut for at least 2 hours daily in neighborhoods across the country. Iran is experiencing one of its worst droughts on record and its 5th consecutive year of drought. The country is also being seared by a brutal heat wave. In Tamil Nadu, a group of Japanese Hindu devotees performed and organized a spiritual gathering. This is part of a growing cultural connection as devotees now plan a new ashram in Puducherry. Our next report, getting you the complete story. Take a look.
We came from Japan. More than 120 people came together.
Shifting focus for now, the US East Coast is witnessing heavy rainfall and flash flooding, inundating roads, halting trains, grounding flight operations from Philadelphia to New York City. Rising waters prompted emergency rescues across several paths. Drivers were caught off guard and were trapped in high water on major highways. In Long Island, some commuters had to be evacuated by the firefighters after trains stalled in the rising flood waters. Commuter rail service on Long Island and in New Jersey was either severely delayed or completely suspended. In Manhattan, water poured onto the platforms of Grand Central Station and across the region's busiest airports. Dozens of flights were delayed or cancelled. Amtrak also reported service halts between Philadelphia and Wilmington, Delaware, citing high water levels over the tracks. By late Thursday, emergency declarations were issued in both New York and New Jersey. Officials said there was a significant risk of flash flooding, landslides, even rock slides in parts of the region. In Pennsylvania, the city of Reading experienced sudden street flooding after more than 3 inches of rain fell in under an hour's time. Videos on social media showed cars nearly submerged and torrents of water flowing through the city streets. Rainfall rates of 2 inches per hour are expected to continue through Friday morning. Some areas may see as much as 6 inches in total accumulation. Severe thunderstorm watches remain in effect. Thunderstorm watches remain in effect across parts of the East Coast, with continued threats of flash flooding in the low-lying areas, underpasses, and along poorly drained roads.
He's stuck.
What if human beings could switch off hunger, sleep through winter, or travel to Mars, like in science fiction? A new genetic discovery suggests that this is not just fantasy, it may be buried deep within our DNA. Our next report telling you what this is about.
Animals that hibernate are incredibly resilient. They can spend months without food or water. When the climate changes in some parts of the world, the conditions become extreme. They go into a snooze mode. The body temperature drops dramatically, metabolism and brain activity slows to a crawl. But the magic happens. When they emerge from hibernation, they slowly recover. Regain their body mass and strength. The weeks of hibernation also helps them recover from dangerous health changes, similar to those seen in type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, and stroke. Researchers have now mapped the genetic instructions that enable animals like bears, ground squirrels, and mice to hibernate. Now a new study says that humans share shockingly similar hibernation switches, clusters of genetic controls that, in animals, permit bodies to slow metabolism, withstand famine, and heal rapidly. Evolution buried this circuitry in our anatomy, but it was never truly lost. Now, with the right trigger, scientists believe it could be flicked on once more. Imagine a future where trauma patients are cooled and placed into metabolic suspension to survive blood loss. The implications are enormous. Obesity and diabetes could be tackled by triggering a natural slowdown in the body's energy use. That's not all. Interstellar astronauts could sleep for years, surviving harsh journeys by mimicking the deep slumber of polar bears. This isn't science fiction, it's cellular fact.
In a world where poachers wield bullets and greed, science is now arming rhinos with radiation. A daring project in South Africa is turning rhino horns slightly radioactive. The aim is to save the species from extinction. This is our ground report from South Africa.
Poachers have hunted rhinos to the brink, all for a horn worth more than gold, fetching up to $400,000 per kg in illicit markets, mostly in countries like China, where it's wrongly believed to cure everything from cancer to hangovers. But South Africa is rewriting this brutal script. Conservationists are embedding radioactive isotopes into rhino horns, making them traceable, dangerous to smuggle and worthless to traffickers.
The situation is, either South Africa, if you're caught in possession of radioactive material, it's defined as a crime against the state. So theoretically, it can open up the possibility of a person being charged with that sort of offence as well as wildlife trafficking offences. So you're just kind of ramping up the reward-risk ratio in the favour of us.
The Isotope project, led by the University of Witwatersrand, represents conservation's nuclear gambit. Scientists inject tiny amounts of radioactive material directly into rhino horns, a procedure that doesn't harm the animals but transforms their horns into glowing beacons detectable by nuclear security scanners at airports, borders, and shipping ports worldwide.
Actually costs much less in terms of veterinary costs and drugs, and then because you only need to treat every 5 years, it ultimately saves money for the rhino owners because they're so brave looking after these animals and continuing to be their custodians and reserves, etc. So we're trying to help and just up the ante a bit in the anti-poaching game.
At the beginning of the 20th century, 500,000 rhinos roamed Africa and Asia. By 1970, rhino numbers dropped to 70,000. Today, 16,000 rhinos remaining globally. In 2024, 420 rhinos were killed in South Africa. Each death brings the species closer to extinction. Now, this novel method to save rhinos using nuclear tech offers a lot of promise. Critics question the ethics of altering wild animals, but supporters argue desperate times demand radical solutions. The isotopes pose no health risks to rhinos. The same radioactive materials are used safely in medical procedures.
6 years of intensive research and testing, Wits University has announced the Isotope project has officially reached operational status, where rhinos will effectively be protected through nuclear technology. The latest anti-poaching campaign injects rhino horns with radioactive isotopes that are harmless to rhinos but lights up airport radiation detectors. Scientists say the tests also confirmed that individual horns could be detected inside full 40-foot shipping containers, creating a powerful deterrent for traffickers. However, this announcement has been met with mixed reactions. While some say this is a fantastic step towards wildlife conservation, others have questioned about the real safety of the animals' health. private and public rhino owners and conservation authorities have been urged to approach the university to have their rhinos injected. This is Kaldan Almo from Johannesburg, South Africa for WION World is One.
Switching gears, months after the devastating Pahalgam terror attack that shook the Kashmir Valley, signs of recovery are finally visible. Tourist hotspots like Gulmarg are once again buzzing with visitors. With stepped-up security and supportive locals, the confidence in the valley is returning. Take a look at this report sent by WION's Idris Lone.
The snow-capped peaks of Gulmarg are once again echoing with the laughter of tourists. The heart of Kashmir's tourism industry is beating again. Security has been stepped up at all major tourist locations. Additional personnel have been deployed, with 24/7 CCTV surveillance ensures monitoring is rebuilding the sense of safety crucial for tourism revival.
I have been here for 3 days. We did Amarnath Yatra as well. The arrangements and security are excellent, and we were in Srinagar and now have come to Gulmarg and we did a gondola ride and saw snow. Pahalgam has happened, but I am sure there will never be such an incident anymore because the security is great and locals are helpful too.
Tourism stakeholders are hopeful that the valley is now on a steady road to recovery. With autumn and winter around the corner, a record-breaking footfall is expected.
We have come from Gujarat. We stayed in Srinagar and later went to Pahalgam for 3 days. We recommend everyone should come here. It's like visiting Switzerland. It's very peaceful here and we pray everything remains peaceful now.
The administration is also leaving no stones unturned to ensure a safe and welcoming environment, hoping that the scars of the past will soon be replaced with the smiles of tourists. With the spirit of the valley resilient as ever, Kashmir tourism industry looks ready to script a new chapter, a chapter of peace and tourism.
After the Pahalgam attack, Kashmir tourism hit its rock bottom. But in the last few weeks, the tourism is slowly and steadily coming back on track. Gulmarg, the ski resort in North Kashmir's Baramulla district, is abuzz with tourists, and the tourist stakeholders are hopeful that the autumn as well as the winter season will again see a tourist boom. With video journalist Firoz, Idris Lone for WION World is One.
If you've ever shared a ChatGPT conversation using the app's share feature, you may have unknowingly made it searchable on Google. The internet is abuzz with reports of thousands of publicly shared ChatGPT conversations showing up in the search after being indexed by search engines like Google and Bing. Alarming details showing that some of these chats contain personal, sensitive, or even confidential information. When the users click ChatGPT's share button, it basically generates a public link hosted by OpenAI. Anyone with that link can access the conversation. And if the link is posted on a website, social media, or even shared by someone else, it can be picked up by Google's crawlers. Naturally, a large number of these chats contain personal content ranging from conversations about mental health and trauma to personal relationships, workplace issues, and others. And some even include identifiable information like names, email addresses, locations, photos, voice messages, making them a serious privacy risk. The shared link creates a static, read-only version of the chat hosted on OpenAI's domain, which remains online unless a user specifically deletes that link from their shared links dashboard. Even if a user later deletes the chat or removes the shared link, it may still appear in Google search results through the pages until Google updates its index. OpenAI clarifies that names are not automatically attached to conversations, but users who manually include personal information could be exposing far more than intended. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate tracker on WION World is One.
Emily Charlton, Andrea Sachs.
Our shooting begins for The Devil Wears Prada 2. Find out all about Anne Hathaway's upcoming project. Decode pop icon Taylor Swift's craze. And explore the South Asian trends taking over the world. All this and much more with me, Diksha Bisla, on WION at these times.
WION, India's global voice. The channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
Recreating the Titanic's maiden voyage. Deciphering Roman inscriptions etched in stone. Preserving the weft and weave that make a kimono. Turning robots into humanoids that think and work. All warmed up now, this is just AI's opening act. Only on Tech It Out at these times on WION World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate tracker on WION World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation